Test. Testing, 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 testing. Testing. Hello, hello. Hello, do 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 do. Testing, testing, testing. Test, 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 test. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Test, test, testing, testing. Do 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 do. What's that? Yeah. We got one person watching my tests. Yeah.
So Alan sitting here, will that work?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And then this mic?
Yeah, that's on, but it's not.
It's on through there, right?
It is. Yeah, I should. I'll turn it up in the room when I.
And then I need to find someone who can manage the mic since I'm going to have to be across the room.
Would you like to manage the mic?
Awesome. All right.
Where would you like Alan?
So in this chair,
Hi,
would that
Alan.
work? It's a little bit taller chair. It's the one.
All right, we have two mics.
All right.
So I'll be operating the mics in the back
Okay.
for the first 15 minutes until I have to go down to crosswalk.
All right.
Then I don't think they will need to be adjusted after the first minute or so.
Mm-hmm.
So just for anybody who's talking in here, so that they can pick them up on the stream, and the people on Zoom, they'll hear it through the speakers.
Okay.
So we'll want to use those. So we'll want to encourage people to use them.
Sure.
adjust it right now, actually. All right, talk a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, it sounds like I'm I'm talking into a mic. Very good.
You're good.
Good.
And then we've got a couple of handheld wireless mics that we're passing around to people if they've got questions. It is 9:28, so we got 2 minutes. No, not at all. That will completely ignore the mic. I can control it from back. All right.
I notice you always come to these.
Yeah, they're fun. They're a good time.
We learn a lot.
Well, good morning. It is 9:30, and so we're going to start our adult forum. We are streaming this on Facebook. We are also on Zoom for people to watch and participate from all over. So I believe there's going to be some question time later. Is that right, Alan?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
when if you have something to say or ask, just ask that you get a microphone,
Yes.
and that way everyone can hear in all of our various places. But this is Alan Peterson,
Very good.
and I'll let you take it away.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, thank you everybody for coming to listen. I am Alan Peterson. Judy and I have been members here at St. John this is our 45th year of membership. We joined in February of 1977. Half of my life has been lived as a person who is blind. I'm thankful that I did have sight. People say that losing sight is one of their worst fears, and I guess I have lived life blindly. That's kind of my theme of my talk is I live life blindly. Yeah, and I started out life as a person with sight. I was raised on a farm outside of Brandon, Minnesota. We were primarily dairy farmers, and I was driving truck and tractors and all sorts of things on the farm as a person with sight. But I went to college at the University of Minnesota Morris. I went to the College of Veterinary Medicine on the St. Paul campus, graduated from there, and then went on to graduate studies in veterinary microbiology and pathology at the University of Minnesota as well, all as a sighted person. I married Judy. Judy and I were married on July 24th of 1971. And I have many visual memories of that day, and also the birth of our three children, Lisa, Neil, and Kurt. I was present at their birth, and many, many visual memories of those experiences. I have three grandchildren. I have not seen their faces. I was blind by that point in time. The diagnosis of my condition, retinitis pigmentosa, was made by Dr. David Rasmussen at Dakota Medical Clinic. That was in the fall, November of 1976, shortly after we came here to Fargo. And I joined the faculty in the veterinary science department at NDSU. I also worked at the University of Minnesota in the avian medicine section. I worked on research on poultry diseases, primarily turkeys, and so that's how I got here to NDSU by doing some graduate work in veterinary medicine. My diagnosis was retinitis pigmentosa, and that is a progressive degenerative disease of the retina of the eye. I lost peripheral vision. It was fairly slow, but it seemed to gain momentum, and within 5 years of the diagnosis, I was at the point of being legally blind. So by the time I lost all my vision, it got to the point where I could only see a letter on a page of print, on only part of the letter, and I kind of gave up trying to read anymore. But yeah, it was a hard time. That adjustment was difficult. Legal blindness, that is defined in two different ways. There is the acuity part, where you look at the eye chart, and if you can't see the big E on the eye chart, then that is an acuity test. The other part is the field of vision, and that's where I was. My legal blindness came first. Was I had less than 20 degrees of field of vision. So I was going to say that this is a very good-looking audience. And ladies, you're looking very, very well today. Yeah, yes. My, I learned after the diagnosis of blindness, and I went through training to use the white cane, and my partner here, I call him Seymour because he allows me to see more. I also went through training on using the computer with speech output. Learning to use the cane, and that's an adjustment in itself. It's not only to learn to use the cane, but to deal with the emotion of using the cane in public and using it amongst friends. It's a mind adjustment, really, but it's one that people have to make, and I rely on my cane a lot. There are many causes of blindness, and each person who is blind or has low vision, there's two different categories of vision loss. One is called low vision, and one is legal blindness. Low vision there's different categories of that as well: mild, moderate, severe, and profound low vision. The most common cause of blindness now is macular degeneration. It used to be diabetic retinopathy, but because people are living longer, they develop macular degeneration. So in that case, they lose their vision, their central vision, because it affects the macula of the eye. I like technology, and I like to be involved. And I did graduate studies in statistics at NDSU, and I've spent quite a bit of time on NDSU's campus. And I've gotten to know, a lot of the students over the years. Yeah. One of the things that has, they want a lot of the students see me. They think that they have an answer. They want to cure the blind guy. So I've had students stop and want to pray for me, and they will, they've put their hands on my eyes, and one actually spit in his fingers and put his fingers on my eyes. But and then they think that I should be healed, but somehow healed. But of course that didn't work. I don't see God's will as me being blind. I view God as someone, or as not as as necessarily a person, but he is with me. He's on my life journey. Whether I'm was blind or was sighted. I don't know. That it's a mystery about what God wills and doesn't will. I know we are in no position to make that determination, in my opinion. I am, I did have surgery to have a chip implanted into my eye. It's called an Argus 2, and that was done in January of 2018. And what it does, the chip works with these glasses that I'm wearing, and the glasses have a camera that's positioned here in the central on the bridge of my nose. And the signal, or that image, is transmitted to this processing unit. And that processed image is transmitted to this coil that's sitting next to my left eye. That processed image is transmitted through the coil to an antenna that's on the chip. And that chip has 60 pixels, and according to what the camera captures and is processed, that signal is transmitted through my optic nerve to my visual cortex. And what I see are flashes of light. And the flashes happen wherever there's a change in contrast. So when I move the camera, I can pick up the edge of a table, or wherever there's the edge of the sidewalk. When I'm walking along the sidewalk, I can pick up the edge of the sidewalk. I can pick up a number of things. I could look at my hand. I can see the outline of, when I move the camera, I can pick up the outline of my hand. It doesn't give me any defined image, but it is an aid. But it certainly isn't vision. I would love to have my vision back. I know what life is as a sighted person, and I know what life is like as a person who is blind, and I would much prefer to be sighted. But life is life, and you do what you need to do to get along or get by. I know that there are not too many people who are blind and are out in public, so I try to be a good representative of people who are blind. So I don't like to be negative. I like to be, I might be not real happy about what people are saying, but I like to be, people who are blind, you might be judged by another person who is blind. If you have a perception of one person who is blind, that might be transmitted to another person. So I like to be a good representative of people who are blind. There are a lot of things that people can do that are not very helpful. One thing that I would encourage people to acknowledge is that not to assume what you think is the proper thing to do. The proper thing to do is to ask, can I help you? And take the cue from the person who is blind as far as what they need to do to help. I've had people who have not said anything. They have grabbed me and, not said, as I approached the door, and wanted to pull me through the door. And that's kind of been a disaster at times. But so it's best to ask, can I help you? And that's, I have been very involved with the community of people who are blind. I've been a part of North Dakota Association of the Blind. I've served as its president. I've been on its board. I serve presently as the development director. So if you hear asking me for money for North Dakota Association of the Blind, you know why I'm asking, I guess. I also have served on the National Organization of the Blind as a board member, the American Council of the Blind. One of the projects of the American Council of the Blind is called audio description. What that is like movies where there's a pause in the action, the visual things that are happening on the screen are described where there are pauses in the dialogue, and that's very, very helpful. Judy and I go to the Fargo Theater, and we have a describer that describes for people who are blind, and that adds so much to the experience of being in the theater. You get so much more information than just listening to the dialogue. What am I missing? I had an outline. Okay, very good. And if you have any questions, of course I can't see you raise your hands, but if you want to, I'm very willing to answer any questions you might have. Any questions you have about blindness, I'm very willing to address.
Alan,
Yes.
This is Steve.
Yes.
When you were first diagnosed or noticed that you were losing your vision and were going to lose more of it, my mother-in-law had macular degeneration,
Right.
and she went into a year-long depression in which it was hard to be around her, actually. Did you experience that, or did Judy experience a depression?
I can't speak for Judy, but yeah, there's a whole range of emotions that go along with a loss of that magnitude. I was depressed. I was angry. There's Kubler-Ross. Ross, yeah, exactly. There's the 5 stages of grief, and I can say I experienced them all, and probably all of them in at various times, probably during the same day. But but I think my experience with being with other people who are blind, that has helped a lot. I've learned so much from others. Really, that has been such a big benefit. I've been a part of a support group here in town. We call ourselves Insight. And so, we invite people who are losing sight to come and learn from others and share the common experience of losing sight. And thank you for the question. I mean, it is an adjustment, and For sure.
Alan, this is it's not a question, it's a comment. I'm one of the people in St. John that's been here so long that Alan remembers what I look like.
Yes, exactly.
He told me that. He said, I remember what you looked like 45 years ago.
You haven't changed a bit? You're the same youthful person.
And what an amazing thing it would be if his sight were to return and see us all now. Anyway, just
Right.
a comment.
This
Exactly.
is Ginny. I want to know how you can be president of so many groups and travel by yourself and do all these things. I don't even know how you can drink a cup of coffee without a mess. How do you do all these things?
Yeah, well, if anything, I'm persistent. I guess I view things as a challenge, and I try not to get things let me down. It has to be done, and I'm going to do it. That's the way I look at it. But I thank you. I don't think I'm unique. People think that I'm something special, but might think I'm something special. Don't ask Judy though. But yeah. Anyway, no, I like what I do, and I really do. And I think I've benefited as much from being involved as what I've contributed. I've benefited as well.
Alan, this is Woody. Is there anything here in terms of our physical facilities that could be helpful that we who walk around, with our sight just don't think of, that could make it more beneficial to you or other blind people?
Yes. I know Braille, Braille signage. You have to first find the signage, and then sometimes the Braille isn't so good. I know that there are things that are on the horizon that will be more helpful than what is presently available. But I at this point, I don't know what other things might be helpful. I can't see print, of course, but I know Braille. I don't read Braille as fast as someone who learned it as a child and grew up with using Braille. They would be more. They are very much more proficient at using Braille than I am. I mean, I think they read Braille faster than people can read print. But no, thanks, Woody. I will think about that, and I have thought about it as well. But I'm very familiar with the layout of the church. I've been here for 45 years, so but I will think about it more. Yeah.
Alan, it's Dawn.
Yes.
So I got a couple things, and one is I would love at some point to have Judy share, if you're willing, a little bit about your experience, and because I've known you forever and we hardly ever talk about this, but I also get that. And then Alan, Can you explain a little bit about your relationship with Galen? Because I've learned more about you and with the way Galen and you talk and do things has taught me a whole lot. So just share a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, Galen, you know, he's pretty open. Galen Anderson, yes. Yeah, Galen and Robin Anderson, yeah. He's helped me, we've gone to different functions together. Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, he will give me a hard time, and like he does to everybody else, but yeah. His favorite thing to do, or his greeting to me always is, he will kick the bottom of my cane, and he says, you know who that is, right? Yes. Anyway, one time we went to business after hours, and he had put my coat on in a group of a whole other coats, and then he would bring me a coat and ask me if that was the right one, and like I could see it, but I could feel the right coat, but and what I had in my pocket. So anyway, yeah, you have to take Galen at what Galen is. Right. Anyway, he's a good guy. I enjoy his company. A sighted guide is something that is so important for people who are blind, and you don't the person who is blind or has sight loss needs to grab the person's elbow, and you take your cues from the person that's guiding you. You can feel his movement, and like when Judy is guiding me, I can tell there's this. I can tell before she tells me there's a step coming up, because from her body movement I know there's a step there. But and then guiding through the doors, that's what a sighted guide grab the door as you're going through. That's a person who has sight loss. It can be a seamless process. But
Alan?
Yes.
This is Fred.
Yes.
Fred Howell. So, related to that, the first time I tried to help Alan, let's say it was 15 years ago, or 20, and we were in the fellowship room, and I decided to help lead him into the sanctuary here, and I walked him square into the column. and the whole point is, we've got to understand each other's situation. I had to think about the fact that he's not seeing that column, and even though I'm walking him into the
sure.
into the sanctuary, I got to pay attention to what his issues are.
Yes. Well, you're not the only one, Fred. There have been many. Right. But I've survived, I guess. My shins have taken a beating over the years, but my toes and shins have found different things in the house. But I don't use a cane in the house at all, because I'm so familiar with the layout of our house. This is this isn't reality, but an audiologist that I went see a few times to check my hearing, he says to me, he asked me, well, you can't see. How do you know that your wife is mad at you? And I says, well, if she moves the furniture, I know that she's...
Thanks a lot, sweetheart. I have never moved the furniture, and you were sighted when we bought that house, so you know where everything is.
No, I heard about blind comedians tell me that,
Yeah.
say that once, but...
Kevin Wall once shared that story on TV when he came and interviewed you when you got your glasses, too. Well, I'll talk a little bit about living with a blind man. You don't move furniture, and you are prepared to look for things that he thinks he remembers where he put them, and he'll say, I need your eyes, and you go and find it and try to remember where he might have left it and so forth. One of the positive things is he thinks I'm still young and beautiful. Because he remembers me from our wedding. But, yeah, it is sad that he never got to see the grandchildren. But he can see their outline if they stand still long enough. But, yes, he had to find a new life, and that was a difficult thing. The depression and the emotions were not his best days of his life, but we weathered it one day at a time, and he now has exciting things that he does and goes and travels to Washington, D.C. a couple times a year and to other conventions. I just try and make airport reservations that are easy and arrange for guided assistance to meet him and get him to his next flight and get him to his hotels and so forth. The only thing, he and a group went out for dinner once in Washington, D.C., and the waiter wasn't paying attention when she turned credit cards and gave him a lady's from Bismarck, and ours went to her. And all of a sudden, I check our credit slips, were all these grocery things from Mandan, North Dakota, and I thought, oh my goodness, what happened here? And he says, let me see your credit card. And then I saw it was Donna's, and I thought, I wonder if she realized she's been using ours. So we got that straightened out without having to cancel our credit cards and change that all out. So anyway, she paid us for her groceries, and we mailed her our card. But, little things like that can happen. So when I travel, I says, make sure you get your own credit card back. But he has been amazing. I mean, I knew him from way back. 50 years we were married this summer. And the transition was slow, and it took a long time, but he has weathered it well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sweetie. No,
Hello, Alan. This is
Hi.
Jane.
yeah, Jane, yes.
I know you spend some time at Camp Grassic
Yes.
in the summer. Would you like to tell us about what you do when you're there and how that came about?
Sure. Well, Camp Grassic is out on Lake Isabel. It's near Dawson, North Dakota. It's halfway between Jamestown and Bismarck, and it's on, the camp is on a lake shore, and they have different populations of people with disabilities who come there during the summer. And North Dakota Association of the Blind rents or uses the campground for the last week that the camp is open. And they've been there since 1973. We've had the camp there for since 1973. I went there for the first time in 1983, and we have the majority of the people who are at camp are people who are blind and sight impaired. So we share a common disability, and we learn from one another. There are classes that are held during the day, and we have activities in the evening. But I've been a camp instructor for 15 years. I offer different classes on not necessarily blindness, but services, how to access services that people can use. Eye diseases is a class I teach. I love history, so I teach history of North Dakota, history of the blindness movement. So I've learned a lot from other people who have been at the camp. We have people from all over North Dakota that come. There's generally in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 people who are there. We didn't have it in 2020 because of COVID, but we did have a camp this year, and I was there, and not everybody was willing to abide by the camp guidelines, but so we had a smaller crowd this year, but it was good. It was good to be back, so to speak. It's the 1 week of the year that we are the majority. We are people with sight loss are the majority, and we do have a few people who are sighted that are there as well. We have the camp is run by the Elks, and there is a camp director. So, and there is a dining room, and we have our meals in the dining room. And I know there's people that serve the meals, but we eat family style, so things are passed around and kind of help each other, so to speak. But so it's a good experience for anyone with sight loss. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Charlotte. Yeah. Charlotte Jacobson, her husband, Jerry, was a classmate of mine in veterinary school. So we go back a long ways. But, I'm so thankful that I had the opportunity to go through veterinary school and be with my classmates. We grew together. We shared a lot, and we remained in contact, after school as well. So I was surprised to know that Charlotte was in Fargo. Yeah. Right. Yes.
Alan, this is the other Judy.
Yes.
So my question is, are there activities that you do that simply exhaust you more so than other activities?
Well,
for instance, I was thinking when you're in a group of people and people are talking and you're trying to listen to all the people talking, is that exhausting for you? Or hard for you?
No, not so much. I often am talking to someone, and then there's a lull in the conversation, and then the the person walks away and I don't know it, and then I start to ask a question or something, and I'm talking to the air, so to speak. But no, I recognize a lot of voices. So, yeah, the voices, I kind of have a visual perception of what that person looks like according to the voice, but I'm sure that it's much, that isn't a very accurate picture, but.
Well, I know when I worked in the office and you would come in on many occasions for meetings at the church.
Sure.
And I would walk you through the office to the room.
Right.
I remember one of the first times your comment was, "Oh, you're shorter than I thought you were."
Right. Right. Right, right.
But I learned a lot from you because you're the one who taught me that the blind person should take the other person's elbow. Because I
Sure.
think the very first time I probably grabbed your arm and I was trying to pull you along.
Right, right, right.
So thank you for that.
Sure, sure. Yes.
Oh, Alan, this is Kathy.
Yes, hi, Kathy.
I was wondering, are there any things that our federal or state government could make improvements in accommodations for people who are blind or visually impaired? For instance, when I visited Tokyo, Japan, I noticed that the sidewalks had Braille paths on them that an individual who is blind could use their cane to navigate the sidewalk with. I mean, all of the sidewalks. And I thought, wow, that's amazing.
Right.
Everywhere on the sidewalk.
Right.
All through the cities.
Right.
And my daughter-in-law's father, who is also blind like you, who has been blind since he was 20 years old, is able to navigate the city of Tokyo.
Right.
So, I mean, are there things that our, state and federal governments can make improvements that could assist people who are blind?
That's why we have North Dakota Association of the Blind and American Council of the Blind. We are always advocating for policies that will improve the lives of people who are blind. And I've made many trips. That's one of the reasons that I go to Washington, D.C., is to advocate for policies that will help people who are blind and sight impaired. No, our built environment often isn't made, friendly, not only for people who are blind, for people with other disabilities as well. But no, we're always advocating for improvements that can be made. The electronic technology like computers and smartphones, they can be very beneficial to people who are blind and sight impaired, but it's not necessarily always accessible. Some of the websites are very inaccessible. There's no way for a person who is sight impaired, who cannot see print or a picture, to use a website. So we're always looking for ways to improve the built environment for people who are blind, as well as for people with other disabilities as well. So we're part of the disability community, and so yeah, I'd like someday to use a self-driving car that I use by myself. but
Just warn us.
Yeah,
Alan?
some of the I guess the self-driving cars don't even are not built with a steering wheel. So, but then also there needs to be some accommodations for the person who is blind to use that vehicle, even though it's self-driving.
Alan, this is Woody again.
Uh-huh.
I subscribe to a magazine called The Christian Century. And in a recent issue, there was an article talking about the 5 physical senses. And that the thrust of the article was that there is a spiritual sense that goes along with each of these 5.
Okay.
Now, I would have liked to have brought that article with me, but I just didn't. But what might be a spiritual sensitivity for you
Sure.
that you have learned over the years that you've been without sight?
Yeah. Well, a spiritual sense, I rely, I don't have sight, but I have, there's 30% of your brain is committed or involves processing visual images. So I know I have all that space for thinking spiritually. No, I'm being facetious, but no. I rely on hearing and touch. So that's my access to the world, and that's my access to spiritual things as well. So no, I agree that there is a spiritual aspect to the senses. Yeah.
Alan, it's
Yes.
Steve again. I've written down 5 questions I can ask you privately. I just want to say that you are an inspiration to me because you are blooming where you're planted. And one of the reasons I was attracted to St. John, amongst others, was the outreach into the community. And you're just a real vital part of that. When I see your name come up on caller ID, I know that there's an opportunity coming my way. And without you doing that, maybe someone would step in and fill the gap. But I appreciate, 99%, I appreciate you calling me.
Thank you, Steve. I really enjoy, the interactions with people, and I really like the fact that I can help. That's my motivation for doing it. I learn from I learn who is willing and who isn't. And I really, really, really enjoy people who say yes.
Alan, this is Dennis, and yeah, to second what Steve said, I really also appreciate your willingness to ask people to volunteer. I think that is the hardest job, is asking other people to volunteer, and thank you so much for all you do there. But a follow-up question to something you said. I really enjoy movies, and so I was interested to hear your comment about these. Was audio descriptors or something?
Audio description, yes. It's what the American Council of the Blind championed, and there's a piece of legislation that was passed that made audio description it asked the movie and the TV, the broadcast industry to institute audio description, and that happens. What happens visually is described in pauses where there's pauses in the dialogue, and it adds so much to the enjoyment of a movie or things that are visual. Some movies, if there wasn't audio description, it would be just it would be not enjoyable at all. There wouldn't be any usable information for a person who can't see.
You mentioned this is available at the Fargo Theater. Is it available at other theaters, and is it something that's something you could have at your home?
Yes, yeah, it is. It's available on our TV as well.
Okay.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it's broad. It's a signal that's passed through on a secondary audio or secondary access channel or something like that.
Okay.
Now, not every movie is available.
Okay.
There's limitations. Yes.
Yeah. Is it just on big budget movies, or do you find like documentaries? Is it common on documentaries?
It can be. It can be available on documentaries. It's not universally available. We'd like to have it universally available. It's not that much cost, added cost to a production. We say it's similar to captioning, for people who are deaf, and it doesn't even cost as much as captioning. The movie industry is becoming more and more aware of this need, and thanks to the championing that's been done by the American Council of the Blind. And I'm so proud to say that I have served as a board member for the American Council of the Blind, and they do great work. They do tremendous work.
Excuse me, Diane here. So when you go to a movie, do they give you like a headset or
That's
earbuds?
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
So you just request that, and you probably need to check ahead and make sure it's available for that exact movie.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Exactly.
Alan, are there blind folks in the Fargo area who need a book read to them because of their studies or interests that are not available on an audiobook? Because we had a neighbor once who had to hire somebody to come and read the text to them.
Sure. Yes, that's true. But there's technology that you can use now. You can put the piece of print on what's called a scanner, and the scanner will scan it, and it will change that print into audio output. So there isn't as much need for people to read to people who are blind. But of course, we don't get the visual information that might be there, the graphs, the diagrams, the pictures, the photos, and that wouldn't be available. So that would need to be described to someone who needs that information.
We're going to need to end here. If you have another question or something. Alan, awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I truly appreciate the opportunity. Truly. Thank you.
Yes.